All right, so are you ready? Because today we are diving deep into a chapter, and from a book that is unlike anything I have ever seen.
Oh, really?
It's this crazy mix of sci-fi fantasy and dark humor.
Interesting.
And at times I felt like I was reading a philosophy seminar.
Wow, that's something else.
Yeah.
So what jumps out at me is how the author just throws out the rule book for format.
Yeah.
You know, they're challenging like what a book chapter even should be.
It's wild. It's like channel surfing through different dimensions, jumping between scenes and narrators mid-sentence sometimes. It's crazy. And that title, Hypersphere,
Right.
that just adds to the whole feeling that we're going to explore some mind-bending concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. And from the very first lines, we're thrown headfirst into the strange new world with instructions on activating a homing beacon.
Right.
But it's the tone that really sets the stage.
Oh,
Emma.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's this bizarre mix of casual, almost sarcastic humor.
Right.
Like they're giving us serious instructions, but they're so out there.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew that navigating the afterlife involved certain anatomical maneuvers?
Exactly. It makes you wonder if the author is just poking fun at like our fear of death and, you know, the rituals we create around it.
Yeah.
Or if they're genuinely trying to guide us through this strange new reality that they've created.
Yeah, it's like a dark comedy routine about the ultimate unknown.
It really is.
And then on top of that, we get hit with this poem fragment
Oh, yeah.
that mentions massive giants of the West and the sinking of a Japanese carrier plane in 1989.
Wow. What is going on here?
I know, it's so weird, right?
Yeah.
It's this juxtaposition of ancient mythical figures
Yeah.
and then a recent historical event. It's like they're hinting at a secret history
A secret history of the world, right?
where these totally disconnected elements are somehow intertwined.
Yeah, they're dropping these little clues.
Yes.
Daring us to like piece together this puzzle.
And just when you think you're starting to get a handle on things, bam, we're in a scene that's labeled the lobster font.
And this is where I think we really see the author's use of satire,
Oh, okay.
you know, using humor to point out flaws.
Okay. Yeah.
We get this play format complete with stage directions. But the cast of characters is so strange.
Well-
We've got every man who's played by like an ensemble of actors and fonts.
What?
Jesus Jamba Juice, and even William Faulkner.
Wait a minute, all at the same time?
Yeah, all thrown in there together.
It's nuts.
It's just this whirlwind of absurdity.
Yeah, and the dialogue, it's full of puns and wordplay.
Right.
And these sharp jabs at everything.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they're targeting religion, politics, literature.
Yeah, and I think by putting these words into the mouths of such a diverse cast,
Yeah.
the author could be commenting on a few different things, maybe the commercialization of religion or even how we use language to kind of construct our own realities.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is a lot to unpack.
And then things take a darker turn with Sam Murphy's Jonestown Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
The subject matter is incredibly heavy.
Right.
It's mass suicide. But the author presents it with this casual, almost flippant tone.
It's unsettling, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It creates this really unsettling dissonance.
Yeah, almost the narrator is desensitized to the horror of it all,
Right.
which makes it even more disturbing for us as readers.
Yeah, it makes you question the author's intentions.
Yeah, what are they trying to do here? Are they trying to shock us?
Yeah.
Or are they commenting on how we as a society distance ourselves from uncomfortable realities?
It's a roller coaster of emotions.
It is.
1 minute you're chuckling at a talking floppy cap, and the next you're confronted with this dark and disturbing narrative.
Yeah, and then when you think you need a breather,
Uh-huh.
we get this interception of a conversation between two-dimensional beings. Like, what is going on here?
This feels like commentary on online forums.
Yeah.
And the existential angst that you find in those spaces.
Yeah, we have these stereotypical characters
Right.
lamenting the meaninglessness of existence.
You get complaining about life.
Right.
And then out of nowhere,
But out of nowhere.
generous business Jui SRL enters the chat,
What?
offering drugs as the solution.
Oh my gosh.
It's so unexpected and over the top.
Yeah, but there's this underlying commentary there, too.
Right.
About stereotypes.
Yeah.
And how those narratives play out online.
Like how certain groups are portrayed.
Exactly.
It's both funny and raises some serious questions.
Yeah, it's really clever how they do that.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then there's Luger Foucault, this mysterious figure who seems to be everywhere,
Oh, yeah.
but we never actually meet him.
He's more of a concept than a character, I'd say.
That's a good way to put it.
The way he's described, like
Yeah.
a cricket or wind chime,
It's so weird.
or an eddy in a river.
Yeah.
It makes him feel symbolic,
Yeah.
you know? Like he represents something bigger.
Yeah, for sure. And we see that in the scene where the narrator's at this party
Right.
feeling awkward and out of place
Totally.
while everyone's talking about Luc or Foucault.
Yeah, it's like he represents this social anxiety, the pressure to conform.
Yeah. And the fear of being judged.
Exactly. And that feeling of unease, of not belonging.
Yeah.
It's throughout the scene.
And it's a theme throughout the whole chapter.
For sure. But before we go too deep into that,
Yeah.
we need to talk about the physics of hyperspace.
Oh, yes.
Pure satirical gold.
It really is.
It's like the author is poking fun at scientific language.
Yeah.
And the idea of applying real-world logic to a reality that's clearly absurd.
Right. And it's so self-aware.
Yeah.
Like the text acknowledges it's
Yeah.
fictional.
Right.
And it's trying to explain something fantastical like hyperspace with real-world physics.
Exactly. It's
It
brilliant.
makes you wonder if the author's also commenting on the limitations of language itself.
Yeah.
Like if even the laws of physics are up for debate, what can we really know for sure?
It's a question that lingers.
It really does. And this chapter is this wild blend of humor, philosophical questions, social commentary.
Yeah.
And it's got this sense of adventure that leaves you wanting more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I'm curious what stood out to you the most in all this?
Well, I think for me, it's the way the author creates this world that's both chaotic and strangely coherent.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they're saying that even in absurdity, there's still order.
Right. But just not the order that we're used to.
Exactly. And speaking of distorted realities, we can't forget about End Town.
Oh, yeah. End Town.
It's like the place where people go when they've given up on everything else.
Right. A destination for those seeking oblivion.
Yeah. And the way the author depicts it is so interesting.
It is. It's both darkly humorous and deeply disturbing.
Especially with that whole Sam Murphy's Jonestown massacre thing.
Yeah, that section was really jarring.
It was.
Taking a horrific historical event
Right.
and reimagining it in this surreal, almost farcical way.
It makes you wonder what they're trying to do.
I know. Is the author trying to desensitize us to the horror, or are they making us confront the dark side of human nature?
It's a tough question.
It is.
And I don't think there's an easy answer. But it definitely speaks to that human condition, you know?
Okay.
Struggling to find meaning in a world that often feels chaotic.
Right, like End Town represents that ultimate escape.
Yeah, escaping the pain and confusion of it all.
It's like a dark parody of utopia where happiness is achieved through oblivion.
And it's presented with this mix of humor and horror that's just so difficult to process.
It really is.
Yeah.
But you know what felt like a breath of fresh air after all that darkness?
What's that?
The physics of hyperspace.
Oh, yeah, I agree. That section was brilliant.
So brilliant.
And so many levels. It's satire of scientific language and fictional worlds. And even the idea of trying to impose order on something that's inherently absurd.
And the footnotes.
Oh, and
Don't even get me started on the footnotes.
They were hilarious.
They were.
Challenging definitions of terms like sentient and hyperspace.
It's like the author's winking at us.
Yes. Like
Yeah.
saying, don't take any of this too seriously.
Yeah, not even the definitions.
It's all a game.
a game.
A playful exploration of language and meaning. But it also makes you think, you know?
It does. If even the laws of physics are up for debate in this
Yeah.
world, what does that say about our own understanding of reality?
Right. It's a reminder that language is a construct. And that even objective terms can be subjective.
Totally. Like how the chapter jumps between different perspectives and realities.
Yeah, you're never quite sure what's real or who to trust.
And what the rules are. It's disorienting, but also incredibly liberating.
I think that's a great way to put it. The author is challenging our assumptions about storytelling.
And about reality itself.
And in doing so, they're opening up all these new possibilities.
So is hyperspace just a fictional setting? Or is it a metaphor for something bigger?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Could it be like the human mind or the internet?
Maybe even the collective unconscious.
I mean, it could be all of those things.
Right. It's like what we were saying about the author blurring boundaries.
Hyperspace is a space where anything is possible.
And the author explores it all.
The darkness, the absurdity, the beauty and wonder of existence.
It's a roller coaster.
It really is. But before we wrap up this part, I'm curious about the ending.
Oh, yeah.
We're left with that image of the narrator at the party, just feeling awkward and out of place.
Yeah, and that lingering sense of unease. What do you think the author's trying to say there?
What's interesting because, well, it brings us back to that theme of not belonging,
Yeah.
which we've seen throughout the chapter.
Mm.
Even in this crazy world, the narrator's struggling to connect.
Right, to find their place. It makes you think about identity.
Uh-huh. Like if we take away everything what's left, who are we really?
It's a question that's been around forever.
Right.
And the author's inviting us into that conversation.
Yeah, they're not giving us answers, but they're asking some big questions.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so compelling.
It really is. It's
Wow.
more than a story. It's like an exploration of what it means to be human.
Yeah, a reflection on our place in the universe.
They do it all with humor and wit and intelligence.
It's a chapter that makes you laugh and think and question everything.
It really does.
Hmm.
And it makes you so curious about what comes next.
Yeah. If this is just one chapter, imagine the whole book.
What other weird adventures are waiting for us in this hypersphere?
It's exciting to think about. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
It sparks our imagination.
it does.
It makes us ask questions and leaves us wanting more.
It's not just reading a story. It's like engaging with it on a whole other level.
Yeah, trying to figure out its mysteries.
Like we're on a quest with the narrator, searching for answers in this crazy world.
And maybe the journey is more important than the destination.
Maybe that's the point. It's not about finding answers.
Right. It's about embracing the unknown and being open to new possibilities.
Challenging what we think about the world.
Exactly. So, to everyone listening,
Yeah.
if you want a book that will make you think and laugh and question reality, check this one out.
It's a wild ride, but it's so worth it.
You might even discover something new about yourself along the way.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.